Hi, I'm John Quelch, Dean of Miami Business School. I'm here today at Endeavor Miami's Scale Up Conference with Alexis Maybank, one of the earliest employees at eBay, and then the CEO and founder of Gilt Group. Alexis, welcome to Miami. One of the things that really intrigued me in your comments was how the challenges of scaling up an organization need to be thought through in advance. Can you talk about two or three of those challenges as you've experienced at eBay and then at Gilt?
Sure. I mean, a challenge of scale is that often the business that you build day one for your first 10,000 customers is not going to be the business that the infrastructure you need to support a business that's selling to 1 million people or 5 million people. That's something I saw at eBay, but also at Gilt. And I started thinking of it from two lenses. One, there's certainty that everything you have built for those first 10,000 customers, that infrastructure on the back end, front end, how you deal with customers, et cetera, will break. And it will continue to break as you move forward. And that's okay, because the business that you've originally built for initially those 10,000 could never support the 5 million. If you did in fact start that way, you've way overinvested and you've way overspent early on before you know how your business is going to grow and scale.
Right.
So I began thinking of it as an exercise of construction, destruction, reconstruction. At eBay and at Gilt, we had moments where the site ground to a halt. We had to take 6 months and rebuild the back end from an engineering standpoint. Our warehouse couldn't keep up with our orders. We needed ground to a halt and rebuild that. So in scale, I think a lot of the discipline comes from being able to know what's going to break next,
Yes.
get in front of it, and what's most critical in bringing potentially the entire business to a halt.
Right, so you can't really predict the actual size and speed of growth, but you can predict the fact that you're never going to be right. And so having the agility to be able to respond to the inevitable crisis is probably important, which leads me to the people issue. How do you hire the right people when you know you're in a hyper-growth company?
Hiring is always hard to get right, and you're never going to get it all right, so just be easy on yourself. But the better you get over time, the metrics should be showing that you're hiring the right people and they're staying, and that you're retaining them. But in order to do that, I'm a big fan of getting the best athletes in place. Hiring the individuals, maybe they're slightly earlier in their career, they haven't already done it, but they have the agility mentally, they can grow with a company, and they have that desire to grow with a company, and bringing them in place more often than not. And then additionally, as you're bringing in large volumes of potential hires, you're hiring and building out the team, maybe in a scenario of hyper growth, no matter what, I'm a big believer in embedding at the get-go a mindset for growth. A mindset for growth to me is warning people, giving them the understanding that growth will come, that it's a good thing, but they need to be prepared for it. So what does that mean? In growth, the job I'm hiring you here for today will change every 6 months. The growth scenario means that the position that has responsibility that is brought as X to Y will appear to shrink over time.
Right.
These are painful things, and not everyone is braced for it. So if you can warn them that it's going to happen and that is a sign of success and that the company is doing many things right, then they're prepared for it and they embrace it. They don't fight against it.
And any other leadership qualities that you think are important that you've learned as you've managed through several of these hyper-growth experiences? Have you evolved as a leader yourself?
Yeah, I really believe that you have to not just talk the talk, but walk the walk. You have to be there with employees, there on the warehouse floor, or there in the dark rooms of the back-end engineering teams. Whatever it might be, to really understand what motivates them, how they receive information, what their stresses are, but that you are there and willing to work alongside with them. And then they will, in turn, want to lean in and help and embrace this growth, this change. And then I also believe you have, especially early on when you're not a public company, be fully transparent. Tell them how you're doing against metrics, how you're doing against financial priorities, how you're making mistakes, how you're thinking about it. But if you let your employee base into decision making and embrace transparency, then in turn you get that back. Here's what's working, here's where we're failing, but here's what we're doing to try to make it better.
Right. Alexis, thanks very much for being with us.
Thank you,
Good
Dean
luck.
Quelch.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.